Hey everyone! Before we dive into this story, please consider subscribing to my channel for more engaging content like this. The Oakland study in our family's sprawling manor felt unusually stiff as my parents and siblings converged around the vintage oak table for what Mom had called an essential family financial summit. Golden late afternoon light poured through the towering windows, casting a warm glow on the shelves of leather-bound tomes and classic oil portraits that whispered of our family's long-standing wealth and heritage. My brother Michael lounged with ease in his sharp, custom-tailored suit, just back from a high-stakes business trip to London, while my sister Rachel fidgeted with her luxury handbag and glanced at their designer watch for the third time. I sat at the table's far end, clad in my usual laid-back sweater and jeans, intentionally underdressed amid the parade of high-end fashion and opulent accessories around me. At 28, I was the family outlier, having opted for a career running a nonprofit rather than chasing the respectable paths of finance, law, or corporate leadership like my siblings. Dad cleared his throat with the weight he reserved for serious business matters. "Before we start," he said solemnly, "I want everyone to know this discussion is about fiscal discipline and securing our family's financial future for generations." Mom nodded in agreement, laying out a series of financial reports across the gleaming table. "We've been assessing our yearly family support costs and major changes are needed. The current setup just isn't viable long-term." Michael leaned in, exuding the assurance of a seasoned boardroom player. "The figures are undeniable. Our family's financial aid has ballooned in recent years, and we need to introduce accountability, especially for those who haven't shown proper gratitude for the support they've gotten." Rachel's eyes flicked toward me as she added, "Some people need to take responsibility." I stayed quiet, fully aware that my $45,000 nonprofit salary made me the clear target of their financial critique. What they didn't know was that my modest lifestyle and income were a deliberate cover for something far more significant and legally intricate. Dad continued, glancing at his notes with practiced authority. "The family emergency fund is being drained. Endless requests for help with rent, car repairs, unexpected costs, and everyday expenses. This culture of reliance has to stop." Mom's face hardened as she fixed her gaze on me. "Certain family members have grown far too comfortable using the family's wealth as their personal cushion, instead of building true financial independence and career drive." The accusation lingered in the air, sharp and heavy like a costly fragrance. I felt their collective judgment bearing down, poised to deliver what I recognized as a carefully orchestrated financial ultimatum. Michael spoke with a patronizing calm. "Your nonprofit work is noble in theory, but it's not sustainable for someone your age. You need a career that supports a proper adult lifestyle." Rachel chimed in. "The constant requests for financial help have to end. It's enabling behavior that stunts real growth and maturity." As they laid out their detailed plan to overhaul my financial habits with what they called strategic tough love, it picked at my salad, fighting to keep a neutral expression despite the overwhelming irony. "Effective immediately," Mom declared with the finality of a household decree. "No more financial aid for non-emergencies, no rent subsidies, no car repair funds, no support for discretionary spending." The words reverberated through the study, its rare first-edition books and ancestral portraits bearing witness to our family's drama. Dad adjusted his glasses and reviewed another document. The family trust distributions that have been propping up various family members will now require documented need and approved budgets. "No more automatic monthly allowances without oversight. We're not your personal ATM anymore," Mom snapped, her tone cutting with the conviction of someone delivering a harsh but necessary truth. "It's time to sink or swim like every other adult out there." My phone vibrated with a text, and I discreetly checked the notification from Whitman Trust Management. Feeling the familiar irony of these family financial talks, the message was concise but weighty. "Monthly allowance approval required for Michael Thompson, $15,000 Rachel Thompson, $12,000 Eleanor Thompson, $8,000 and Charles Thompson, $18,000. Please confirm by 5 p.m. today." It glanced at my family's self-assured faces as they wrapped up their intervention, oblivious to the fact that their own monthly stipends hinged on my approval sitting in my phone. "Do you have anything to say about these new financial terms?" Dad asked, clearly expecting some grateful nod to their tough love. I gave a faint smile and typed denied for all 4 requests. Their confident expressions began to hover almost instantly. Actually, I said evenly, setting my phone face down, there seems to be some confusion about our family's financial setup. Before anyone could respond, the study door swung open, and a poised woman in a sleek business suit entered, holding a leather briefcase and offering an unapologetic look for interrupting. Miss Thompson, I'm Patricia Williams from Whitman Trust Management. I'm sorry to intrude during your family meeting, but we need your immediate signature on some urgent quarterly trust documents. Confusion rippled across the family as Patricia approached me instead of Dad, who stood, expecting to be the focus of any serious financial matter. I'm sorry, Dad said, his voice carrying the authority he was used to wielding, but I handle all trust matters for this family. Any documents should come to me. Patricia looked genuinely surprised. I'm afraid there's a misunderstanding. Mr. Thompson. Emily has been the primary trustee and financial overseer of the family trust since her 25th birthday. All distribution decisions and account management fall under her authority. The room fell silent, save for the faint ticking of an antique clock in the corner. That's impossible, Michael said weakly. Emily works for a nonprofit. She doesn't have the expertise or legal power to manage a trust. Patricia opened her briefcase and produced several official documents. In fact, Miss Thompson earned her financial planning certification and trust administration credentials 3 years ago. She's been managing the family trust portfolio with great success since then. Mom's face drained of color. What family trust portfolio? Patricia consulted her papers. The Thompson Family Trust, established by your late father, currently valued at approximately $23.7 million, providing monthly distributions to all family members at the trust's discretion. My family's expressions shifted from confusion to horrified realization as the truth sank in. The monthly allowances you all receive, I said softly, come from the trust. My trust? This is absurd, Rachel snapped, though her usual confidence faltered. We would have been informed about something this significant. Patricia produced a certified copy of the trust documents. The trust stipulated that control would pass to the youngest child at 25 with the expectation that they'd support family members at their discretion. Dad's hands trembled as he scanned the legal text, confirming his worst fears. This says Emily Thompson has been the sole trustee with full discretionary authority for the past 3 years. I nodded. I've been overseeing all your monthly allowances, investments, and distributions, while you assumed I was scraping by on my nonprofit salary. My phone rang, displaying a number from the family's private banking division. Excuse me, I said, answering while holding eye contact with my increasingly anxious family. Miss Thompson, this is David Chin from First National Private Banking. We've received your denial for this month's family allowances. Should we place holds on the associated accounts? Yes, proceed with the holds until further notice, I replied calmly. All automatic transfers are now suspended pending your review, he confirmed. I hung up and faced my family's stunned expressions. That was the bank confirming your monthly allowances have been paused. Monthly allowances, Mom whispered. Patricia checked her tablet. Michael Thompson receives $15,000 monthly for business and living expenses. Rachel Thompson gets $12,000 for lifestyle maintenance. Mrs. Eleanor Thompson receives $8,000 for discretionary spending, and Mr. Charles Thompson gets $18,000 for household and personal costs. The figure struck like financial thunderbolts, hitting each family member individually. This is outrageous, Dad erupted, though his voice betrayed panic rather than authority. Even if this paperwork is real, I built this family's wealth. I managed our finances for 30 years. I deserve control over our money. You didn't build this wealth, I said calmly. Grandfather did, and he designed the trust to pass to someone who proved both financial savvy and a commitment to helping others. My nonprofit work wasn't a misstep. It was the qualification, Patricia nodded. The trust explicitly requires the successor trustee to show professional financial management skills and dedication to charitable causes. Michael was frantically checking his phone, likely seeing declined transactions. Emily, this is madness. My business expenses, client entertainment, operational costs. They all rely on that monthly distribution, which you just said should end because we were too dependent on financial aid. Rachel's hands shook as she scrolled through her banking app. My credit cards are being declined. My spa appointment, my shopping plans, everything's bouncing. That's what happens when automatic payments are suspended, I explained. Patiently. The same thing you wanted to happen to me. My phone buzzed with another call from the trust investment team. Miss Thompson, this is Jennifer Walsh from Portfolio Management. We need to discuss the real estate holdings. Should we continue covering property taxes and maintenance for the family properties? I glanced around the study where we Saturday this estate, for instance, along with the vacation homes, investment properties, and commercial real estate. All trust assets requiring ongoing management. I put the call on speaker. Jennifer, what happens if trust funding for property maintenance stops? Property tax defaults would start within 60 days, followed by maintenance issues, insurance lapses, and potential foreclosures on leveraged properties. Mom looked faint. Our home, this estate, is owned by the trust, Patricia confirmed. Emily has been covering all household expenses, property maintenance, and family living costs for 3 years. Dad was making frantic calls to his banker and accountant, trying to grasp how his financial world had flipped. I could hear snippets of panic conversations. Trust documentation, successor provisions, Emily's authority. The family members who declared no more financial support. I said, watching their growing desperation, just learned they're the ones receiving it. All of it. Another call came from the household management company. Miss Thompson, the domestic staff payroll is due tomorrow. Should we proceed with payments for housekeeping, gardening, and maintenance staff? I looked at my family's horrified faces. Let's hold all staff payments pending a full budget review. Understood, the caller replied. All staff will be notified their positions are under review. Rachel began to cry. Emily, you can't fire the household staff. Mom depends on them. This house needs constant upkeep, the same way I depended on family support until 15 minutes ago. I asked, what was it Mom said? Time to sink or swim like every other adult. Michael's business phone was ringing nonstop. Vendors, clients, and partners discovering his funding was frozen. Emily, please, Dad pleaded, his earlier authority gone. We can sort this out. We're family. We are family, I agreed. And as family, I've been supporting you all for 3 years, without complaint or recognition until today, when you tried to cut me off from support you never controlled. Patricia handed me a detailed financial report. The trust has thrived under your management. 18% annual returns, diversified investments, and sustainable distribution policies. Sustainable until now. I corrected the model assumed family unity and mutual respect. Those assumptions may need adjusting. I looked at my family, each now realizing their financial security rested on someone they just tried to shame and abandon. The oak furniture and ancestral portraits seemed to observe the seismic shift in family dynamics. Here's what's happening, I announced, my voice steady despite the emotional storm. Monthly allowances will be restructured with new accountability measures. Dad, your allowance is now $12,000 monthly with expense reporting required. Mom, yours is $6,000 with oversight on discretionary spending. Michael and Rachel, you'll each get $8,000 subject to quarterly financial reviews. Those amounts won't cover our expenses, Michael protested. Then you'll need to adjust your spending to match your income, I replied. Like you advised me to live within my means. Patricia handed me a revised trust agreement. I'm also introducing mandatory financial counseling and budget planning for all beneficiaries. Financial counseling? Rachel sobbed. You're treating us like kids. I'm treating you like adults who need to learn financial responsibility, I corrected. Exactly what you said, needed. Dad stared at the trust documents, his eyes hollow. What about this estate, our home? It will be maintained as long as trust beneficiaries show appreciation and maintain respectful relationships. I said hostile actions toward the trustee could trigger housing allowance reviews. Mom grabbed my arm. Emily, we're truly sorry for what we said. We didn't know the real situation. Now you do, I replied gently. And now we have formal trust agreements reflecting the true financial dynamics, not your assumptions about who supports whom. Patricia finalized the paperwork. These terms are effective immediately. All family members will receive written copies of their revised allowance schedules and accountability rules. As my family reluctantly signed the new agreements, they grappled with the reality that their comfortable lives depended on the goodwill of the person they just called financially reckless. One last thing, I said as Patricia prepared to leave. The nonprofit work you dismissed, it's growing. The trust will establish a $5 million charitable foundation, reducing funds available for family distributions. The figure landed like a financial bombshell. Money they'd assumed was their inheritance was being redirected to the charitable work they'd ridiculed. The family that said, "We're not your bank anymore," I concluded, standing to leave the study, just learned that I am their bank, their landlord, their employer, and their financial future. Tomorrow they'd receive their reduced allowances, begin mandatory financial counseling, and start living within budgets they'd never had to consider. The nonprofit administrator, they dismissed as financially irresponsible, had revealed herself as the family's financial cornerstone.